is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 222. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E. Sitting here on a Wednesday, beautiful Austin, Texas. Unclench.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know what to do with my hands, really. Excited? Well, not excited. Glad that we won and avoided a nuclear disaster.
Yeah.
Not very thrilled at the manner in which we won, and incredibly nervous about playing Cincinnati on Saturday. So there's a lot going on, but 3 points is 3 points. You survive in advance. We move up into the round of 16, which we will take. But good Lord, that was not fucking fun last night for a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah, the asteroid barely missed us.
No, right before our eyes. But it was, I mean, we're chatting before we jumped on here. It was just like, yeah, we have to relive this. And I'm sitting there in the stadium in the first half of that game. And I'm just like, I think I might tell Zach I'm quitting the podcast tomorrow. Yeah. I am officially going to retire. I will not be able to talk about this if we lose this game. And thank God we didn't. But holy shit, it was it was damn close.
Yeah, so we will relive the dramatic comeback victory that happened at Q2 Stadium on Wednesday night. Preview that FC Cincinnati match that is coming up a little over 48 hours from now when we are recording here. A couple pieces of news, last business day, best keeper in the world, the nonsense. We'll talk some academy updates as well. So a jam-packed episode here on episode 222. But before we get into all of that, just want to remind you all, listening or watching on the YouTube channel, that you can support the show financially by downloading the audio versions of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. So Apple, Spotify, wherever you get those pods, toggle on auto downloads. That will support the show going forward, and you won't have to think about it again. You can also rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. That helps us climb those charts, get those 5-star reviews in there. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hitting the subscribe button also helps us grow the show. And you can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, here on episode 222, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in some Brandon Vasquez goal contributions. And coming into last night, again, like we knew it was at stake. We knew that things were going to get very, very tense in that stadium with from the first, the opening whistle and every passing minute that Austin did not get on the scoreboard. And boy, did it go, further south than we ever expected it to there in that first half. I guess before we jump fully into this one, let's take a look real quick. Today, MLS dropped the roster page updates. So, right, this is just your roster profiles. You see us pull these up here on a weekly basis for our previews. Couple things that stand out here, especially when you scroll through all of these. You can see how little of the TAM that Austin FC is using here just on Julio Cascante. That will be a stark contrast to what we see in this FC Cincinnati preview. But the only changes on this sheet from when we got the March update a few months back, you have the updated GAM totals, right? The GAM going out in the Robert Taylor trade. So we're now down to 91,000 and some change in that 2025 GAM that's available that, again, hasn't already been applied to the roster. That's where the majority of the GAM went to get us into compliance with the league's roster rules. And, of course, the other change coming along with that GAM going out is Robert Taylor coming in on the senior roster. So the most important thing about this roster profile update is that means that the salary dump is right around the corner. So I would expect in the next 2 weeks, hopefully sooner than that, we'll get those that salary guide posted there by the Players Association. And that's when we can really go to town and fully examine what Roto has done here in terms of building this roster under the MLS salary cap rules. So I don't have anything else on this. No surprises.
Yeah, nothing else for me as well. No surprises here.
So you see the lineup come out last night. And, I completely understand having to have some rotation in there. Some of it's planned, right? Like a Stephen Cleveland is going to get the 90 minutes last night. We expected that fully, especially after his start against Dynados 2 weeks ago. And then you have other, I think, 5 field players rotated into this 11 here from what we saw on Saturday against Minnesota. Those changes, Julio Cascante in this lineup, who I learned from the the Open Cup broadcast there that Julio's full name is apparently Julio Cesar Cascante Solorzano, because he was listed as Julio Cascante Solorzano on their lineup card on the broadcast. So, you learn something new about your favorite team every day. So Julio in there, Jean Kolmanich in there for Guilherme Biru. Nico Dubersarski gets his first Austin FC start in place of Ilie Sanchez. Diego Rubio also in the middle, in the midfield in place of Owen Wolf. Then Hader Obrian in there for Osman Bukhari. All of those guys were on the bench. Again, Open Cup, you only get 7 bench spots, so keeper and 6 field players typically. So the bench, Biru, Svatok, Wolf, Ilie, Bukhari, and Robert Taylor. I know I just said I was fine with the lineup. Again, I could you run out the same 11 or close to it? Yes, but I also understand the need to rotate and the need to get some of these kind of second string guys some minutes. And at the end of the day, man, everybody who was active for Austin FC last night is 100% an MLS caliber player on paper, and no excuses coming into this one.
Yeah, I mean, we were chatting about the lineup before we're about to head out and everything, and I was totally fine with it. We knew there was going to be some rotation. It would have been, frankly, embarrassing to run your choice 11 last night.
Sure,
and looking back on this now, we can obviously feel a bit better about it because we got the 3 points. But it would have been embarrassing if it's yes, here's our full strength lineup. We're starting our starting keeper because we're in such a bad spot right now that we know we have to go ahead and win this game. But I thought this was a good mix by Nico and his staff of guys who are routine starters night in and night out for this team, and then a blend of some of the younger guys. You get Dubersarski in there. Obviously, Dark Magic Rubio gets in there as well. Cleveland gets his shot. Send Guilherme to the bench for Kolmanich, which I also thought was totally fine. So, and exactly, that 11 was better than El Paso Locomotive. And there was no excuse to go down 2-0 to El Paso Locomotive at home. None.
Yep. Well, that is what we did. So let's go through the first half here, Ian, unless you have anything else to add on the lineup. In the 4th minute, right off the rip, Kolmanich, who I thought had a great shift. He plays about 60 minutes. Really slick through ball here to Mirtu Azuni, who is then in on the keeper by himself. He slows up at the edge of the 18, takes a shot. The keeper saves it relatively easy. On the replay, there's no VAR, I believe, in Open Cup, and the flag stayed down here. I think he was just a few inches offside here, but that goal, I think, would have counted if he scored it. He did mention something about the new grass being noticeably different for him in the lead up to that goal, I guess, in his post-match comments. Either way, man, the new grass or not, if you're Mirtu Azuni, man, I think you got to score this on grass, on asphalt, on turf, on gravel.
Mars.
This has to be a goal.
It has to be a goal. Again, we start out, we come out early, we get a chance with one of our best players who has scored fucking 20 goals plus in La Liga, and now you're going one-on-one with a USL keeper who probably makes less money than I do at my job. And we have heard from Mirtu in the past, the keepers can't do anything with these. I've just missed. Well, you missed this one, dude. You shot it right at him. It was an awful attempt, and we knew we were going to be tight butthole to start that match. And after this happens, again, just deflate a little more. It's just like I talked about on the last episode, where it's like people were going to be there. We knew it wasn't going to be sold out. We knew it was not going to be packed to capacity. So Wednesday night, the juice was not at the regular juice levels. You have this happen, and it's just immediately like, oh gosh, here we go. And like, this was the start of it for me. You have to score this, man. I don't care. Don't talk to me about the grass.
Yeah.
And it was bad. The grass was bad. Okay. It was bad for them too. They didn't have any trouble scoring.
Hey, man, and look, you said, you got to score that on Mars, too. Some of the shots we've had from Mirtu in the last couple of weeks look like he's on Mars, sailing those things into the stands. And if you convert that, I do think that the route is on then.
Absolutely.
Within 5 minutes, you put one on El Paso, and that's just how, just highlights how important it is. No matter the opponent, when you get a chance like that, you got to bury it. One of 4 big chances on FOTMob's model that Austin did not convert in just the first half alone.
I mean, like you said, the route would have been on. We would have been partying. It would have been the ass whooping, the beat down that we have been calling for in this matchup, because it would have just established right away, you have no hope here, El Paso. Yeah. Thanks for showing up. You're done. That's it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he makes more money than their entire team combined. It's just like, it would have been over at that point in time. And for him not to convert this, man, it's just a telltale sign. And all we wanted to do was build confidence from this matchup and win this game and build some confidence so you can start feeling a little bit better about yourself. We can get that, proverbial monkey off of our back, where it's like we're scoring goals now, and the confidence that these guys need to have moving forward as we progress into the latter part of this season was right here on the table for you. And it just didn't work out. And good God, me and you were not some happy campers last night. And we were pulling up and it was like, oh, it would have been cool to invite X, Y, and Z and have them sit next to us. But it was like, if this goes south, please don't talk to us, because we're not going to be those guys you usually see in the North End having a blast, throwing confetti. It's not, that's not what it was.
14th minute. Austin pressing high in this moment after first 10 minutes, relatively tame in terms of the intensity defensively, kind of come play El Paso. We're going to sit back here and see if you can then contend with us on the counter. But while they're pressing here and El Paso's trying to play out of the back, unforced error on a pass from El Paso goes right to BV. And Brandon turns, takes a touch towards net before firing a shot that gets scooped up by Waite there in the goal. Looks like it may have been slightly deflected as well. But again, another moment where I think Brandon Vaz, you see it later on, he can do better even from 18 yards out. So again, it's those little things, and some of the plays too that don't quite make it into the match notes here on the pod, where Mirtu's coming down the left side on another chance later in the half and kind of gets the ball tangled up underneath his feet and can't quite get to an angle for a shot. Diego Rubio had a couple as well. I thought Diego on the night was, he only plays the first half. I thought he was really bad. Yeah. Particularly, not necessarily his play. His play didn't jump off the screen either, but the dark magic, the shit housing, we love it. But when you go down to a USL team, you cut that shit out, man, especially after the official. I know I'm jumping around the first half here, but especially after the official, I thought, did a great job of establishing a consistency in terms of the physicality that he was allowing both teams in and around the penalty area. Some of the flopping that Diego was doing in the midfield was shameful's probably too strong of a word, but I turned my nose up at it pretty quickly, especially after we gave up a goal.
That was Bassey-esque, to be honest with you. Sure. There was no need for it. Again, let's just establish the facts in this game. Every player we have is better than every player that they have. Front, top to bottom, whoever you want to look at. And Diego is one of those guys. And particularly when you go down, pair that with another fact that the referee, absolutely, I agree with you there. We want consistency. And he was consistent the entire night. He was letting the guys play. There was a lot of physicality. He wasn't reaching to the pocket, giving out the mustard to folks. And for him to be flopping around consistently, just trying to draw a foul for us, it's brother, we don't need that. We can just beat this team regularly. We can just beat them. Just go beat them.
Yeah, 19th minute. El Paso wins a free kick, 35-ish yards out from net. It was a nice set play here to slip. Avila through, and his shot is going towards the far post, kind of across his body. It's out of the reach of Stephen Cleveland. On the replay, that was off target. Again, when stuff's going on down there in the 6-yard box at the south end, it can be tough for us to really glean what's fully going on. But the captain for El Paso, Ortiz, slides in, scores the opener there, but the flag goes up, and it was a good call by the official, but a fucking close call for Austin, and just a harbinger of what was about to come.
You were asleep on this play to let this happen, and you got lucky that this offsides was called, because as we mentioned, we thought Mirtu was probably offsides on that first play in on net versus them, and like there is no VAR. If they had scored this, good Lord, but they get a goal, and it was just like
it's literally the next possession, 20th minute, right? Moreno dribbles past Sabovic, and then Galley comes in to try to tackle it. He can't really secure the tackle, and that ball deflects off of John and Moreno at the same time, right into the path of Beto Avila and the Austin kid, right? And he's like at the top corner, left corner of the penalty area, facing the south end, turns and just zips right past Julio. Like, I try to give all of our players, and especially Julio, who has been under the microscope year after year, sometimes rightfully so, sometimes people are a little bit too harsh. This is just poor defense. And Avila takes 3 touches towards the middle, uncorks a shot. That near post fizzes right past Cleveland, caught him off balance, it looked like. And it's 1-0, and the Austin kid has scored. And I had a complete pout fest last night.
Yeah.
Even when we scored 3 goals to go up and fucking win. Because I don't know what this team has done over the last month or so, right? You get the win against the Galaxy at home. You look at what the Galaxy have done. 1-0, not super impressive, but you got the job done. Outside of that, dude, it has been straight up bad. And at this point, I made the decision. Well, right or wrong, man, as a fan. And I want to say, I think both of us have a ton of respect for the hundreds, if not thousands of Austin fans that are out there that no matter what, come and cheer just as loud, no matter what the score is, no matter what the form of the team is. I cannot do that. And so I kind of, it was like a vow of silence almost. In terms of the cheering, dude, you can actually even, like, the Vasquez header off the bar here in a minute. If you watch the replay and you know where to look for us in the section behind the net, you can see even as this header is being put almost into the net that you and I are sitting there with our arms crossed, not moving at all. And like, look, man, that's just how I felt. We were in such a bad place after that first goal, and it gets worse. It gets worse.
The defense by Julio on this goal is so bad. It is it's unrecognizable for him as a player. The caliber he plays for he represents his national team. He plays. And like for this to happen where like, again, just sleepwalking, that's an effort thing, man. And like you said, like we're super supportive of this club. We're usually quite positive. We try to find the nuggets, the gems, things to latch onto where it's like, if we're down and things are going rough, okay, well, let's look to some numbers or some certain plays that we can build on for this team. But when that type of effort is out there being displayed, you're not getting anything from me. And I was right there with you, and our buddy Aaron, who's sitting next to us, he goes, "Oh, the North End boys looks like they're doing a silent protest tonight." And I was like, "Yeah, dude,
pretty much.
I'm not standing. I did not stand up outside of going to the bathroom until we scored the 3rd goal." And I'm pretty sure I didn't even clap. I'm pretty sure I just snapped.
I know you snapped on the first goal. There's video evidence.
And it like Jesus and like just Jesus. This goes in and the worst possible thing that we thought could happen in this matchup has now happened. And the fact when you add in that you had just had a goal disallowed, that should have been your wake-up call. Tighten up. Tighten this shit up, dude. And they didn't. And it gets worse.
30th minute, Austin wins a free kick. Top left corner of the El Paso box, and Kolmanich was on sets with Owen out. And look, man, Jean does the thing that we know he does great.
He played good.
He does it quite well in this game, whether it's the corner kicks, the free kicks, some of these changing balls. We'll get to one here in a minute.
Yep.
I thought, again, I want to give him his props because he played quite well. So he whips this ball in towards the back post where Julio kind of nods it back towards the scrum. And hot air, man. Swing and a miss here. Almost fell down because of how hard he whipped. And that bouncing ball then comes to Savovich, and he tries a little half volley with some power, but it's right at the El Paso keeper. And Waits Perry puts the ball back up into the air. It ends up coming back to Savovich, who tries a little like scissor kick, and that's off the mark. 2 minutes later, here's you get one of those multiple just field-changing passes that Kolmanich makes all the way from left to right to John Gallagher, who brings it down, then drops it back to Diego Rubio. And Diego whips in a ball that finds the head of Brandon Vasquez. This was a credit to Diego. This is a great pass, and Vasquez clangs it off the crossbar. So again, that's where it's you're racking up these chances again, where with each passing minute, not only is the tension building in the stadium, but I'm just resigned to the fact at this point, this has all the makings. This is the anatomy of an upset. We are going to lose this match tonight.
The storm was fucking brewing, and I'm glad we talked about Kolmanich here. I thought he played fantastic last night. He has that real sexy move. I forget at what point in the game as well. That did get some oohs and ahs out of the people up out of their seats. Great ball by Diego. And then, inches away. And, one thing I have noticed with BV headers is that he is reluctant to do the put it into the ground thing. He always is trying, and partially because he's so large, I believe, and like he's unguarded in this matchup right here. Would have been a goal if this was on frame where like it's on net. But he seems very reluctant to do the spike down header, which is weird to me. But okay. And like you said, this storm is brewing, because this was another groan moment, an audible groan from the entire fan base. We're just like, oh.
Except us. I didn't make any noise. You can see it on video.
We're just chilling, just like, oh my God. And and I don't even want to say it was encouraging to have this build up, because you should have anyway, man. Like I said, I wasn't giving out extra flowers for beating this team. Right. This is what you're supposed to do, man.
Yeah. 34th minute. So, pretty much right off the back of those two missed chances, El Paso's in transition here and running at a disjointed Austin back line. Cabrera bends a ball around Dubrsarski that connects with Avila. And Avila takes a wild touch here. Like, he doesn't control it at all, but that ball bounces up into Brendan Heinzeich's head. Yep. I don't know. This guy's got a magnet in his noggin for that ball just hitting him at inopportune times, because it bounces off his head and right back into the path of Avila, who, like, credit to him, gets right around BHI and shoots back across his body. Slow roller. Cleveland deflects it, goes past him into the net. 2-0. Now the disaster is on. And I want to say this too. Like, I want Stephen Cleveland to be that guy that made the penalty save against Pumas. But if you remember back to that game, leading up to that penalty save was extremely shaky. And the guy just gave up 2 to Dynamo's second team 2 weeks ago. And now he's given up 2 to El Paso Locomotive and didn't look great with the saves that he did make. And so, like, I'm looking at the roster sheet that was updated today by the league and seeing that 2025 expiration date on his contract and saying, Damian Las can come do this on a supplemental spot. We could get another field player on the senior roster for that spot. So, like, again, look, I'm sure Stefan is a great guy. He, in the 3 matches, I believe that's all we've seen of him, at the first and second team level now, he's had really one moment that I can remember that was impressive. And it was a big moment. Like, I'm not taking that away from him.
Absolutely.
But just what he's put out there the last 2 weeks has not been good. And now that we do get Houston in a couple weeks at our place, to me, if we are actually going after this tournament, now 4 wins away from a cup, that's Brad's game again.
I'm right there with you. And, I mean, I'm going to fast forward here and jump up to the end of the game where we're actually taking the lead, and they have an attempt on net, and I shit my pants because I thought he was going to scuff this, and like it has not looked good, man. It just seems to be another confidence thing where he's lacking it. I imagine that he has plenty of ability. You're an MLS goalkeeper. I imagine you have plenty of ability.
We saw him beat Austin at Q2 when he was with Seattle. Like he was fantastic that game. We know he's solid. Roto wouldn't be keeping him around. No, we're not giving handouts. Again, confidence, I think, is what it comes down to. That's what it looks like. So I'm 100% in agreement with you there. But you got to pick it up. And if he does get the call again against Houston, we're going to back the guy. But fuck, man, it's got to be better than what we've seen in Houston 2 weeks ago against their second team. Like I know the ball has to go through 10 other guys before it gets to you, right? Yep. So it's never always on the keeper. We just need to see more out of him if he's taking up the roster spot that he is. Yeah, look, you're the bastion. You're the last line of defense. It can be a thankless job for sure. Because if you screw up one time, that is in the spotlight. That is in the focus. You mess up in the field like that. That happens all throughout the course of the game. Right. But he's got to be better here, man. He could have done better with this, but I'm going to go ahead and tip my hat to Beto here. Sure. Yeah. Because he was hungry. Composure in the final third. And like Mirtu did not have it at the start of this game. You had all the time in the world to beat this guy, this Beto kid, man, 2 times where he took his time and scored goals. And it's just like, man, the sky is actually literally falling. I was just staring up at the moon for a while to ensure that it was not actually going to fall down on us, which I might have welcomed at that point in time. But good Lord, dude. And look, we won. Okay. You were losing this game for 50 fucking minutes. You were down 2-0 for a damn near half. It was 42 minutes until we got the equalizer in 76 minutes, because this comes in the 32nd, I believe. Yeah. You were losing this game for 50 plus fucking minutes. You were down 2 for almost an entire goddamn half. And you got nothing going right now. Nothing. I see Brandon comes up to get the ball and just a little, and we're just, me and you are just in shock. Disbelief, just again silent. And shout out to everyone who came and sat with us, because we had the availability. Aaron's there, Alex and his family who always show up, and they're fantastic and lovely. TJ, our boy, who you put the curse on, he came over. Our buddy Mace, Uncle Dave, Danny, that whole crew, man. So we had a nice little thing going, but like, don't talk to me at that point in time, please. I'm a nice guy, but like, I'm not going to be too friendly in that moment. Yeah. And I mean, shit, man, we go up at halftime, and Logan and Long come over, and they look at Logan starts laughing at me because I'm just like, give him a hug, and then I'm just staring. No words. And I do want to go back to what you say about goalkeeper just being a thankless job, right? And that does apply to Steph here, because I think if Stefan comes in and we play the clean sheet out, right? 2-0, 3-0, whatever. If it goes as we expected it to, we'd probably just say, yeah, Steph did what he was supposed to do. Good job. And we fucking move on. So I get trying to be fair to the guy, right? But speaking of halftime, right? I have never heard this at Q2, and I have never participated in this at Q2 if it has happened, but boos raining down at the halftime whistle. And in my opinion, it was 100% deserved. I mean, I joined in, of course. I was just surprised at how many people joined in, because it was, there's probably 8,000 people there last night, something like that. It sounded like the majority of people booing, and you guys deserved it, man. Yeah. And I was thinking in the moment too, Los Verdes does the the bar crawl for some games called Choo and Brews. And with the fucking Locomotive last night, now last night's game is Choo and Booze. Unless somebody else has something better. I partook, and I've never booed this team. In fact, I have never booed a team I am actively rooting for that I am a fan of. I've never done it, but I've rained down on them as well, because it was so deserved. It was so deserved.
And there was no reason to have any belief. I'm up on the concourse with Shane and Stephanie, and we're talking about how putrid this is. And then the realization of we're going to have to score half of the goals we've scored in 11 games in 45 minutes to win this game in regulation, which you want to do because we have to play Saturday, and then we have to play Wednesday again, and then we have to play Saturday again, and it just keeps coming this month. And it should have been us up 2-0, you coast, the game's over in the fucking 4th minute when Mirtu bags one on you, and we get to just kind of see this one out and do let's pass it around the horseshoe. And I would have had a great time watching that because we would have been up 2-0. But instead, you're down 2-0 at halftime. I'm telling everyone, this is Michigan Appalachian State. Like, I'm just going through the moments in sports history.
Except Appalachian State's up the whole fucking game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's where not a field goal at the end.
Where it's just like, this is a cataclysmic disaster, like just a disaster class. And I had no belief, zero, that we were coming back in this game. Not even a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it was so bad. Iron Verde walks over.
Yeah.
Got to get a couple words in there. Like, also got to meet our buddy, I think it was Gary, the craft beer pro, in the line right there. So, look, man, the only way that I didn't walk out of that stadium last night at the fucking half was like all of our friends that were there, like hanging out with them. That's the only thing that made the first 70 minutes of last night bearable at all. Yeah. And I don't blame anybody who left at any point of that match.
Nope. Coming off the worst defeat at home in club history, and then you follow it up with a 2. I mean,
try to top it.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the shower this morning just like processing this, and I was like, is this worse than the Minnesota first half that we saw last year? And I say yes.
Yeah.
I don't care that we were fucking rotated. I don't care that Stephen Cleveland was in the net for this game. Yeah. This was the worst half of soccer that this organization has ever seen. So credit to you for coming back. Yeah. And it's a very small amount of credit, in my opinion, and in my book, because the way that this got done was it's just inexcusable, man. Like, this was so bad. And I don't have confidence. The confidence built that we wanted to have, it's not there for me. Yeah. You're going to have I need to see how you come out and play Saturday.
Yeah.
To see and check the gauge, check the temperature on where this team is actually at and how they're feeling about themselves. Because I bet you it was not a very raucous locker room, even despite what happened. 3 goals in 7 minutes, you come back, you get the 3 points. I don't think it felt like it did when we beat San Jose in similar fashion.
Yeah, I agree. And coming out of the half, man, like, we do get changes here. Double change for Austin. You get Taylor and Bukhari in for Diego Rubio and Hader Obrian. And to be honest, like, there's not a ton. I forget who put in the goal that gets called back for offside. I want to say that was like 8 to 10 minutes after the half. Austin scores one down there in the south end. Didn't make the highlight package. I didn't pay for Paramount Plus just to rewatch this game. So I'm not sure who it was, but we do get more subs throughout the opening, 15, 20 minutes of the half. You get another double change for Austin in the 60th. Ilie and Owen Wolf come on for Dubersarski and Sabovic. And then 2 minutes later, you get Guilherme Biru in for Jan Kolmanich. And on the El Paso side, in the 70th minute, Moshe Bain came on for Beto, the goal scorer there in the 70th. So just getting right to the trio of goals here, right? And this is a 6.5 minute span that completely flips the game on their head. And like you said before the break there, you get credit. You get credit for the comeback, and it starts with a great effort. I think on 2 of these goals, this player was not given his flowers maybe in the moment. So maybe I'm just saying because I didn't realize the effect he had on these plays. Guilherme Biru, to get to this ball here in the 73rd minute that had been jarred loose from Vasquez. Vasquez was trying to hold it up. It gets tackled away, and Biru beats an El Paso player to the ball to deflect it and keep it in the mix there. He pops that ball right to Owen Wolf, who then takes a look up, and he floats this like soft little pass on the one hop to Brandon Vasquez, who had gotten up and made a run into the area. And Brandon buries it past Waite with a little bit of power there, and the stadium starts to wake up. I'm still pouting, but there's life here.
Yeah, well, because we brought in our two best, most impactful players. 20-year-old supplemental roster, Owen Wolf, who is by far and away the best player on this team right now.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Don't ever talk to me about it. He's the best player on the team right now.
Yeah.
Biru, our second most impactful player. The plays that he makes in this game directly lead to us actually being able to win. And the fact that we had to bring Owen on to win the game is disgusting. It's crazy. We had to bring the 20-year-old kid on to win this game because we had nothing going in the first half and for the start of the second half.
We also had to play all three DPs, 2 of them 90 minutes. Go back and look at the games from last night where this Open Cup, with less MLS teams, I think, than ever before, maybe with the exception of last year. But now we're into the round of 16 and 15 of the spots are fucking MLS teams, which kind of sucks. Like, again, I'm glad that we are one of them. But, like, go look at what the other teams had to do to win these games. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, exactly half of them, on the road. Only one team loses, NYCFC, and they were down a man because of a red card, and they get scored on a minute over the stoppage time that was literally at the death before extra time.
It was awesome. And I would recommend everyone going to check out that clip because it was cool. It was very cool. And it wasn't us.
The grill master out there. Jackson Volti for
Jackson Volti. Shout out. But yes, of course. You know, and like I was looking at, doing the preview for FC Cincinnati here, and they're not in the tournament. So, like, they didn't have to play. They're going to be so fucking rested. And we had to play 2 DPs 90 minutes to beat this fucking JV team.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Dude, a lot of DPs last night. Like, there were plenty that played. Yeah. But I don't think I saw another team that used all 3. And there were multiple teams that, like, either all or 2 of the 3, like, they just didn't even suit up their designated players.
Yep.
And again, like, we wanted that. We wanted to make sure you come in and get a win, but it's just, again, it's like trying to keep it in perspective. Like, great comeback here, but look what you had to do to just get the bare minimum of surviving and advancing here. And 3 minutes after the first goal, it's Biru again firing this long ball from beyond midfield towards the penalty area of El Paso in the south end. And Vasquez gets to it right at the edge here, right at the edge of the 18, and just beautifully. This is what we've been envisioning. But at the MLS fucking level, it's him chesting it down right into the path of Mirtu Izuni. And Izuni taking a quick touch to settle it and then firing it past Wait, the back post, nestles it in that side netting. We're tied up. I'm still pouting, but I love seeing Mirtu's celebration here. He comes to life. He's pointing at the supporters. He starts sprinting. He's still, again, like, I love this, the like little kid energy he gets when we score. Look, I want Mirtu Izuni I want him to be my favorite player so fucking bad, but he has to be better. He has to do that with a lot of consistency. Yeah. Because look, man, when you come in talking about breaking records, like that is the bar you set for yourself. So I hope that this is just one of many, many more goals at Q2 and overall for Mirtu Izuni. And again, I'm glad for him. I'm happy that he got that. Again, like you said earlier, we're getting a lot of monkeys off the backs here on Wednesday night, albeit late on. Look, I'm happy for the guy. I don't care who it's against. I don't care when it is. You got one at home, and we were there to celebrate it with him.
Yeah, and like, look, he might be a bit of a crazy person. So I think
good.
Yeah, exactly. I think that he does not need a lot to get his confidence back because he has a ton of belief in his abilities and what he can do, as he should, because we know he's a fantastic player. We understand that. He is that. You also still have to go out there and produce for us. And again, to me, this is a composure thing, which does give me pause about like saying, okay, there might be a little bit more confidence coming back here because it wasn't a pressing kind of shot like we've seen, particularly on that breakaway. I was like, he didn't really know what he wanted to do here. This one was, keeper, you're not good enough. I'm going to score on you. Here it comes. And just put it right there in the back of the net. And yes, I'm not sure of my celebration here. I do still think I didn't stand up. I'm pretty sure I didn't stand up. We'll check the tape. Shout out to Uncle.
Dave was working overtime.
Shout out to Uncle. He did have a bag on his head for the entire second half of the game.
I forgot about that.
Which was hilarious. But yes, 2-2 here. And now we're saying, okay, we can beat them in PKs. You know what I mean? That's how we felt. It was like, okay, we can get them in PKs now. So like, let's just go there and do that, because again, I did not expect the third goal to come, but I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again.
Well, and I think, too, it also would have maybe helped us to be watching this match from home, because I didn't realize in the moment here in the 80th minute how dead El Paso is, because this is just, if we don't score on this play, like we deserve, I mean, we probably may have deserved to lose anyways, but in the 80th minute here, it's Bobby Taylor finds Owen just past midfield, and Owen has all the space in the world to just drive forward. And like, they're so tired. Owen creates a 5-on-3 after like 2 dribbles. Their midfield is just dead, completely dead at this point. They've got their 3 guys on the back line because, now they have to try to, they're still trying to defend this 2-2 score line, maybe get to extra time, maybe steal one back. But man, Owen, from the broadcast angle, he waits for the perfect moment to split the 2 defenders that were kind of bracketing Vasquez in this moment. And credit to BV, because he buries this header, like you mentioned earlier. It didn't go into the ground, but there is some force to the near post with this one. And in about 6.5 minutes, Austin have the lead. And I'll admit, I did cheer a little bit after this third goal. And Brandon Vasquez sets the club record for, it was like 6 minutes and 32 seconds or something, whatever the club put out. 3 goal contributions in that amount of time. Look, man, he got it done. The guys got it done. And you do get credit for that. You get credit for the comeback. You get credit for doing what you had to do, survive and advance. But I don't have to be happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. Owen's just so good. And again, he's the best player on the team right now. The way he's playing, the way he's getting guys open, the way he's distributing. This is a fantastic ball. Excellent finish by BV. And yes, I did some cheering here for sure. And you, like we've said, I don't know, 3 or 4 times at this point, you get credit for the comeback. You responded. You did your job. And now you get the gift of Houston again. So you really want to make me cheer and make me shut up about complaining all the time. Go do it, because I'm for it. I'd love to be quiet and just like cheering goals on. Like, hell yes. So yes, shout out to the boys for staying focused on the task at hand here and getting this job done in this little flurry that wins the game for us. Because yes, that El Paso team was absolutely cooked at this point in time. They had nothing left in the tank. I don't even know. I mean, did they use all their subs?
So right after the goal, there's a double change. Coronado and Carter in for Quesada and Moreno. And then 85th, you get Frank Lopez in for Cabrera. And like Lopez almost like, we were not out of the woods yet. Because 87th minute, Locos get to the end line on the right side there in the north end. They pull the ball back across the face of net. Nobody gets a touch to it then. But Lopez retains possession on the left side of the 6, or more at the edge of the 18, rather. Yeah. And he takes 2 touches to the middle and shoots. And Ilie gets a block to it that only deflects it so slightly that, like, Steph Cleveland still gets a hand to it and it goes out for a corner. But, like, and ultimately, again, obviously you come away with the win, so that corner's cleared out. But, whoo boy, like, that was, that probably should have gone in.
Yeah.
It probably should have gone in.
There
was the deflection from Ilie. There was some luck there.
Yeah, it was finally some good luck for this team, for sure, because we've needed some. But yes, like I said earlier, I shit my pants on this play. Basically, I was just like, oh my god, they're about to score and equalize this. Yeah. And like, look, like we said again, I'll repeat it again. You get credit. Who was the more impressive team last night, though?
I mean, for the majority of it, it was El Paso.
El Paso. Going into an MLS stadium. Having just, they played on Saturday or Sunday too as well, right?
Saturday,
so like
rivalry match.
And to come, exactly. You beat your rivals 3-0. The high of that coming down, going into to Austin here, and you put up 2 goals in the first half on this team that's really struggling. So I was impressed with them, and I will tip my hat to them. But of course, this should have been the result. This should have been the result. No matter, like, this was the result. 3 points for Austin, period. You didn't do it in a commanding fashion that would have really had us juiced up about this, but you survive and you advance, and I will take that. Okay. And like I said, I'm going to need to see what you come out with versus Cincy. And I'm not necessarily saying go and beat them, but I need to see a competitive game versus an MLS side before I can actually flip the switch with this team and say, yes, we're getting back to where we need. Well, not even back. We're progressing to where we expected this team to be at with what they have at their disposal.
Yeah. 46% possession for Austin at the end of this one. 39 total shots, 21-18 in favor of Austin, and 10 on target to 7 also in favor of the home team. El Paso 7 corners to Austin's 5. And like I mentioned earlier, big chances, they were aplenty. 6 of them for Austin. 4 of them missed. All 4 of those misses came in the first half. So as we mentioned earlier, that Houston match is now set for Wednesday, May 21st. So under 2 weeks until the Orange team is coming back to Q2 Stadium. 8 p.m. kickoff, so a little bit later there at the Q. Some of the other takeaways from last night, you can go watch the post-game press conference from Coach. The one thing that they kind of had the camera on still as everybody was getting up to leave, and Nico turns to all the media assembled there and just says, I'm glad you guys got to see 3 goals. And everybody just kind of had a laugh. And again, if you want to go watch that full thing, it's up on the club's website or their YouTube page. My post-game takeaway still is that I still fully back this team. Mm-hmm. You're just in a rut right now. And there are so many opportunities over the next 3.5 weeks to surprise us, to impress us, to impress other people and fans and teams and pundits around the league. But with those opportunities comes opportunities on the flip side to dig yourself a bigger hole with the fan base, with the vibes, with potentially the players out there as teammates, because the further you sink with your confidence, potentially in the table, right? It becomes a lot easier to point fingers in the line. Not saying these guys would or will, but that's, you see it happen, right? In every team sport. Yep. I did shout out to our buddy Podcast P, Paul from the Verde Pendant, texting us this morning some Owen Wolf stats that involved in 5 of the 10 Austin FC goals across all competitions so far this year, and is now tied with Alex Ring on 13 assists for 3rd most in club history. You've got Diego Fagundes at 18. You've got Sebastian Driussi at 17. And on his current pace, Owen Wolf will be the leader, all-time leader in assists at the end of this season. So hopefully he keeps up that pace, man, because we will take that. And the way he's been playing, he deserves, I think, to be at the top of this list, as we progress throughout the rest of the season in his tenure here. He's been great, man.
He's a difference maker. He comes into games and he makes an impact. He's been absolutely fantastic. I would love to see him move up that stat sheet there, and I think he will, because he's just going to keep this thing rolling. He's been absolutely fantastic. I tell you what, you play like you played against this El Paso team versus Cincinnati, you're getting your shit punched. Yeah. For sure. So, move on from it. We got the 3 points here. You got a tough test coming up on Saturday. You got plenty of tough tests coming up the entirety of the rest of this month. And like you said, they are also opportunities to go ahead and get yourself right, get yourself some confidence. And again, this can't all just be result-based, right? You know what I mean? Like, it can't always just be a result-based thing. That's why I want to see a competitive team Saturday come out and look like they belong, and we will live with the results as we have to, because the season will keep pressing forward. But it's going to be a tall task here, man. And just thank everyone for letting us win this game. Everyone gets a little. Look under your seat. There's a thank you card for you. Yeah. Everyone gets a little something here. But dude, I don't feel great.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Yeah. Well, I got a trio of shout outs here. I don't know if I don't think I mentioned this at the top of the episode. Shout out to Sam. She came up at the Sunoco after the game and introduced herself to us. Gave us some very kind feedback. So really appreciate that. It was great to meet you. Shout out to Ilya, because this is the first time I've seen this in the North End. Coming over after the match and literally like quieting down everybody in the North End with his hands so he could verbally say, like a thank you message, talking about appreciate you guys coming out on a Wednesday night. It's late, we appreciate the support. I just thought that was, again, it's Ilya going the extra mile, which I know is what he does with, it seems like everything.
Yeah.
But it was unique to our experience in the North End over the first 4+ years that this club has been in existence. And then shout out to the club, because I think it's appropriate now that we bring this up. After the Portland match, I was bitching about the heartbeat on the corner kicks. And it was not around for the Galaxy match, but we were wearing the armadillo kit. So I was like, okay, maybe it just, the heartbeat sound is tied to the heartbeat kit. Well, you play against Minnesota last weekend. It was not there. And then you wear the heartbeat kit again last night. And, maybe it was just an MLS thing, but it wasn't there either. So it does seem like the club stopped. And I'm not sitting here saying that we had any sort of influence on that. It'd be cool if we did. And if that did factor into anybody's decision out there listening, thank you. But no matter how it happened, I really appreciate that, because that was corny as shit, and we don't need it. We don't need it. So hopefully it doesn't come back now that I said something.
Hi, my name is ZG, and I would like to speak to your manager, please.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this Cincinnati match, E. I know you're on the preview, but before we get to that, I just want to, typically we're talking about the Los Verdes watch parties at this part of the pod, but a little bit of a break here for the next couple of weeks, I think, from the official Los Verdes watch parties. But if you are not traveling out of town for this match and you want a place to watch the game with other Austin FC fans, you can check out the Los Verdes Full 90 Club. It's a group of bars and restaurants in Austin who have agreed to show our league matches with both the sound and the captions on. So the current Full 90 Club locations include the Brutorium Brewery and Kitchen, right, where we had a watch party a couple weeks back. Hop Squad Brewing, of course, the classic. Luster Pearl East and Luster Pearl South down here in our neck of the woods. Meanwhile Brewing and Mags up there in Cedar Park. So you can find the list of those restaurants and bars and addresses there for those participating locations on the events page of the Los Verdes website, which is, of course, losverdesatx.org. And just look for the Los Verdes Full 90 Club section for more details on that if you're looking for a place to watch the game with some other fans. So Los Verdes Full 90 Club in lieu of the official watch party, at least for this week.
Hey, very nice. I imagine people are going to show out and show up, because that's what this fan base does.
Let's talk about Cincy here. And I know you're on the preview. So as always, I've got some supplemental type of notes that I'll sprinkle in along the way. But talk to us about FC Cincinnati, who are no longer at the top of the Eastern Conference, but within 3 points of, I believe, the Shield right now.
Yes, they are. A team that you and I really, really respect and think are definitely one of the best clubs in the league right now. But that won't save them from having never beaten Austin. That's right, baby. Undefeated versus FC Cincinnati in club history. We got to go all the way back to the magical start of the 2022 season. This was the opening night match. FC Cincinnati comes to town, and Austin hangs 5 goals on their head. And I know we were discussing 5-goal performances last episode with Derek there, and the fact that we had back-to-back 5-goal games to start that fantastic campaign. And I remember looking up at the table there, 10-1 aggregate, and was just like, oh, God, we are massive. Like, there's nothing that is going to stop this team.
I will always remember both of those games walking out and, sarcastically after the first match against Cincy, but then, holy shit, after the second one, walking out of that bathroom there in the north end and being like, first place, just like scream. Anybody who's within my vicinity, you got a first place scream at you there. I already went back and watched the highlights of that 5-0 Cincy drubbing. Like, if you need a pick me up, you can go watch that, man. It was fun.
Yeah, this is a good time to break that out in case of emergency, given the recent form of our boys here in the green and black. But let's go back to the inception of FC Cincinnati, who were founded on August 12th, 2015, to compete in the USL. They started their campaign in the USL in 2016 and were there till 2018. And then on May 29th, 2018, they were awarded a spot in MLS, and the rest is history for this club. They've been successful in their time here. They have won a Supporters Shield. I believe that was 22-23.
Yeah, the year after we blew them out.
Yes, yeah. So they were, they're a good team. And I thought this was really interesting doing some research on them because they break the record for USL attendance. And then they break it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then they break it a third time. And then in the total of a 17-month span, they had broke the record attendance 4 times, each of them being their own, topping it over and over and over again. So I thought that was really interesting. Then they played Crystal Palace in a friendly and actually broke the state record for Ohio for the most amount of fans in attendance for any soccer match. That was eventually...
Suck it, Columbus Crew.
That was eventually beat by, I think, a Real Madrid friendly that they had up there in Ohio. But this team is paced by 2 of the best players in the league. There's no other way to say it. They are superstars. They have 12 of their 15 combined goals. Evander Ferreira and Kevin Denke, who are just absolute studs. Evander being one of our favorite players in the league. I absolutely love watching the guy. I never really loved watching him too much when he was playing against us. And if you need a reminder of how skilled and talented Evander is, go back to the Portland matchup that we had them last year at home, where he's about, 30 yards out, give or take. And
that's the best goal I've seen at Q2.
I was going to say, it's in the article. Zach, on record, the greatest goal he's ever seen, from a set piece that had a .04 XG that he just blasts past Stuber like he's not even in the picture. So this guy is the real deal. 6 goals. I believe he's got 8 entire contributions for this team this year. But these are the 2 studs for him, Denke and Evander. And that's how they like to play through these guys. They play a very free style of footy. They like to get up and down. They allow a lot of creativity for their players, which when you have guys like Evander and Denke, I'll loop in Luca Orejano as well, who is a very talented wing back for them, a guy who can play on both sides of the ball, a good distributor. So they play a very free style. They like to incorporate a high press as well, which we know we have struggled with in the past. This is one of those teams that is not super regimented like we've seen with like your LAFCs, where it's bunker, counter. And those are some teams that we've had some success against this season. FC Cincinnati plays a very, very free, open style of football. They're going to be a big challenge for us. And I'll let you get in some supplemental action here now.
Yeah, so just like looking at some of the stats that they've put out, you mentioned, right, 12 of their 15 goals coming from the 2 DPs there. Evander, though, is, again, I think this highlights just like the skill level that Evander has, right? He's leading the league in goals minus XG, and nobody else is even really that close. I think he's at 4.4. I think next is 2.8, and then it goes on down from there. Meaning, right, he scored 6 goals on 1.6 XG, right? So going back to what you were just saying, E, about the free kick goal in Austin last year, 0.04, like he's scoring goals like that fucking consistently, man. Yep. And then Denke, I think goal of the year so far in MLS is Denke's bicycle kick, I think 2 weeks back at home. So you can also go look. Maybe we'll throw that link into the article when it gets posted on Friday. But even with that success from their 2 DPs, they're not getting a ton out of the rest of the team. Like Orejano, and like I can totally see him, this being his fucking get right spot where he smashes. And, like our best ball team would take it, but unfortunate. Like I'd rather it not happen against our favorite team while he does it. They're just 23rd in the league in XG, which is lower than Austin. They are a spot below us. We've generated 0.9 more XG, but on their 13.3, they've scored 15 goals. And on our 14.2, we've scored 7.
Yeah.
So they don't generate a ton of XG, but they're very, very efficient. They're 8th in the league in shots on target per match. And to your point about them playing more direct, right, especially when they turn teams over with that high press, they are last in accurate crosses per match, right? So a little bit lower possession, but also that direct play going right up the channels at you there, right? Trying to get the ball on Evander's foot right around zone 14 at the top of the box, and you're fucking dead if he gets the ball right there, pretty much.
Yeah, you're basically at his whim, like whatever he's going to do with it. As you mentioned, like with that goals minus XG thing, the guy can score from anywhere. You know what I mean? Like this is not something where it's like we got to keep and limit his touches in the box or something along those lines. He can score from literally anywhere on the pitch. So we're going to have to keep an eye out for him. They acquired him from Portland for, I believe, a $12 million transfer fee, cash for player. And you know, we had a conversation about comparing him to Mirtu and things along those lines and who we'd rather have. And Evander is just one of those guys who I think can do a lot of different things. He can get guys involved. And we haven't seen the best from Mirtu yet by a long stretch here. But this is the comparison for the type of player you're looking for a $12 million transfer fee. Evander, super impactful. They went and then they upped that spending and spent $15.3 million to go ahead and get Denke from Cercle Bruges. So in Bruges, arguably my second favorite movie of all time. Just throwing that out there if anyone wants a little, sometimes you come to North End for soccer stuff. Sometimes
culture recommendations.
Yeah, you get pretzel reviews, you get movie recommendations. There's a lot of different things that we do here, but definitely go check out that movie. Fantastic movie. But these are the two guys for him, man. And like you said, they're not getting a lot out of those other pieces. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. It's not like these two are taking like the entirety of all of their shots. Like you mentioned, they do have quite a bit of shots per 90 on net. They're just a good team, man. And like I said there, I think they're sitting in third place in the Eastern Conference right now, 2 points behind Columbus, tied with Philly, who have identical records at 7-1-3, 7 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses. I believe it goes to goal differential at that point, and Philly is up plus 11 in that category. I think Philly probably has the second best goal differential in the league right now behind Vancouver, and that is the case. So this is one of the best teams in the league. This is one of the premier teams in the league. They did not play in the U.S. Open Cup, so they are coming off their last matchup, which was a loss to NYCFC on Sunday. So they will be well rested, and I'd imagine they're going to be quite hungry to get 3 points here.
Yeah, no doubt. And like some of that too, like on the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned their goal differential only +2, but sitting on 22 points. I'm kind of surprised. Like they haven't had a ton of consistency on their back line. I know Teenage Hadebe came over from Houston Dynamo, right? He's recovered from that broken leg that he suffered last year. Matt Miazga is back from injury. Miles Robinson, I think, missed 1 or 2 matches earlier this season. So they've had some guys, especially those center backs, in and out, but from what I know about the current state of this team, they are very, very healthy. Like Pavel Buka, I believe, was the only guy rather on their injury report for the loss at NYCFC on Saturday, or that was a Sunday match, I believe.
It was.
So like they've conceded the 10th most XG in MLS, and like keep in mind, Austin through all of the poor form over the last 5 weeks, like Austin is still 4th lowest in MLS in terms of XG conceded. Like that number is still in the top tier in the league. And since he have also conceded 3 penalties, so like even if they're full strength, they haven't proven yet to be able to really shut down opposing teams. They do have 4 clean sheets. But again, they're giving up chances, and they've been a little bit sloppy at the back compared to the average here in the league. And the only other thing that I wanted to add here onto the preview is like bringing up the roster profiles.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Tam. Yeah. Like if you're watching on the YouTube, you can see all of the red on the screen. And just to illustrate it for those who are listening on audio, right, the MLS color codes these roster profiles. So all of your TAM players are shaded red. they have 7 guys on their senior roster who are not TAM players. And that's including DPs and U22s, right? This is a 2-4 build. They have Denke and Evander as their 2 DPs, just Gilberto Flores as their only U22s. Like, they could add 3 U22s. But they're using, I would imagine, every last cent of their TAM on 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 TAM players, if my count right here is correct. Again, keep in mind, we have 1 TAM player. So, like, these 2 roster builds right now are just kind of the opposite ends of the extremes here. Like, this Cincinnati roster is like the definition of high talent floor all up and down the roster. They've got a former Liverpool guy, and I know Brad Smith has a longer story. Like, this is not a lifetime EPL guy, but like, he's on a supplemental roster spot down there. Like, this is a very, very talented team with holes basically nowhere. Like, they are one of, if not the most complete roster in the league right now. I guess, right outside of a healthy Miami.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've never seen a team with this many TAM players. I don't even think it's been relatively close. I don't think I've ever seen a team with 10 TAM players. You know, so like, this is, like you said, a very, very talented team. They're going to be well rested. It's going to be a tough task for us, but let's go ahead and get into the boys. Yeah, unless you got anything else to add on Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, we can talk about us. And again, I don't think there's much to talk about here outside of like who can play and how much. And Coach did address that last night. So heading over to Verde all day and the work that Phil West was doing last night, he quoted Coach at the end of that press conference saying, "We have to put out the best lineup that we can every game, and now we have to recover our guys, see how everyone is recovering, and put out a lineup that can compete against Cincinnati, because we go to compete and try to beat a really, really good team. I think we have the tools, we have the players, and we'll have to make some changes depending on how everyone is recovering and also during the game. Maybe 45, 60 for some, 90, and then depending on that, we'll have all the others coming in like we did today." I expect Vasquez to start here back in Cincinnati, and if if your historical sample size is going, if we can take any positives out of that, he faced Cincinnati twice with Monterrey, I believe, in Leagues Cup, or it may have been Leagues Cup one year and CONCACAF Champions Cup another. But he scored twice against his old team at TQL Stadium. So, like, make it a third, Brandon. I could totally see Mirtu taking a seat here. Because, again, you got to remember, we are back at the Q on Wednesday against a team in Atlanta who's struggling, not too dissimilar from us, where they spent a lot in the offseason. It just hasn't come fully together yet. So, again, like, it's going to be tough, I think. It is a job that I do not envy. This coaching staff working with the high-performance team to figure out who can actually start this match. And I expect to see some planned subs based, no matter how good or how poorly somebody is playing. I think we're going to have a couple guys that come off at these, allotted times. Is there anything? I guess for me, Stuver, back in. Biru, back in. Svatak, back in. Ilie, back in. Owen, back in. I could see Buka getting out there. Maybe he and Obi start, on the opposite side as wingers with BV up top. But I think all of those guys that got rotated out last night need to come back in.
I mean, and we also have to address the Taylor injury.
Fuck. God damn it. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I mean, if you were at the game last night or watching the game, I don't know how much they would have been showing it on the broadcast, but he could not walk.
Yeah. We had no subs left, so he gutted it out.
The closing seconds of this match, or closing minutes of this match, he was physically unable to run. He was just out there jogging. We had to leave him on the pitch because we wouldn't have had enough players. So, like, he's not going to be available. 100% sure he's not available. Obviously, no Pep. Obviously, no Dessler. And, like, the way that you and I particularly had been approaching this matchup and, like, looking at it was that this was a schedule loss. Like, since he is now a full week rested, you just had to go a full 90 minutes with 2 DPs versus El Paso Locomotive to get 3 points and move on in the U.S. Open Cup. And now you got to jump back and travel up to Cincinnati to go play this juggernaut. So to me, I don't want to see a full choice 11. I'm not saying you go up there and you pack it in and you start Duber Sarski and, you let, CJ get a start, because you know what? You screwed those guys out of their opportunity to go ahead and play 90 minutes. You screwed them. You screwed those guys when you didn't take care of your business throughout the rest of this month and have them in a position to go ahead and get and reap some of the fruits of their labor from showing up for fucking practice week in and week out and putting in the work and then not getting that time in those games. You screwed those young guys out of that opportunity. So I also don't want to see us just like really throw this to the wind. Yeah. But I don't really think it's a great idea that you go up there and play, you start Mirtu again and hope that you get 65 out of him, because like he should be gassed at this point from what we just went through with these last two matches between El Paso and Minnesota. No Robbie Taylor is going to be really rough for us because, again, he came in last night. I thought he looked really impactful right away.
He looked great. Yeah, he looked great.
He has looked so good in his two opportunities to play for Verde and Black, and now, of course, has this hamstring injury, which it did not look good, man.
It didn't look good, but also the fact that he could, because like if it was bad enough, he would have come off. We would have just played with 10. So the fact that he was still able to be out there hobbling around, that gives me some hope that this is like a 2 to 3 week thing and not 4 to 6, maybe even more. But yeah, he's definitely out. And I also think we should keep in mind there is potential that Mikel Dessler is listed questionable on the injury report coming in and could play 10 to 15 at the end. I think it's more like Atlanta next week that he does, has that first sub appearance. But it's not out of the realm of possibility because we were told full training this week for Dessler. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, like you said, I do not envy the decisions that the coaching staff are going to have to make here. But to me, we're coming off the worst home loss in history. Yeah. You got to defend home turf in this league. That is where we know that the teams who finish high in the table, who make the playoffs, who get home playoff games, they butter their bread at home. That's where you get your points. That's where you stockpile them. And to me, that Atlanta team coming on the 14th of May here, a Wednesday night game, is the game that you have to actually go for here. And I said earlier that I wanted to see how the guys would come out and compete, not necessarily expecting a result, not necessarily demanding a win. In fact, I'm definitely not demanding a win in this matchup here. Yeah. But like you got to pick and choose your battles sometimes. And with that Taylor injury, the absence of Pep, the absence of Dessler, the fact that we had to play 2 DPs 90 minutes. I do want Brandon to get the start, obviously, but like that shine has lost its luster, in my opinion, now that he's gone back already two times. Sure. You know what I mean? This is not he's back kind of game and everything. And from the stuff I've seen from FC Cincinnati fans online, they maybe don't really like him that much. I have not seen a lot of positivity about like what he's been able to do, particularly when the memes were flying on Meme Monday on our MLS with Azuni and BV getting a lot of attention there. So the luster for the luster is gone for me in that regard. So I don't know if I'm going to go out here and pick a choice 11. Actually, I will. I will. You went out on a limb, so I'll go ahead and do that.
I don't think it was out on the line. Just like I was like, put the better players back in. I don't know.
I think. Look, I think I'm staying with Julio for the reasons that I gave for the Atlanta matchup. I'd rather have Svatak and BHI potentially be the guys that get some rest here in this matchup.
So it'd be Svatak Cascante then, right? Because you're going to rest Brendan in that. Yeah.
Yes. And then. You know what? Komanich played really well last night. I would not be against him getting a start here. I really would not. I thought that if we're looking at guys who we wanted to be able to build confidence from this matchup, I think he was the guy who probably built the most amount of confidence last night. So I'd be fine with Komanich there. Obviously, I love Biru, but given the circumstance, this is where we're at right now. Sure. If Dessler could give us 10, that would be wonderful for Johnny. Yeah, although we know Johnny is an Iron Man who can just go and go and go and go. Of course, we just don't want him to break down as this month continues to move forward here. Owen's 20. He did not get a full go last night. He's the best player on the team right now. He's back in the lineup. I think you do start Ilya and see how this thing plays out. Maybe you can go ahead and get an early one and then just park the fucking bus and go into the horseshoe of sadness, which would not be a horseshoe of sadness at that point in time, it would be a horseshoe of happiness for me if you're up 1-0 on Cincinnati and we're just keeping the ball away from them, which you will not be able to do for a very long period of time because, as we mentioned, their high pressing style, the way they like to get up and down and everything like that. Maybe Diego as the third midfielder there. I mean, yeah, but again, like with the context of who we have coming to town on Wednesday, I'd rather have Sabo ready to roll full go when Atlanta comes to town, but we'll see. I hope
sub Diego in, especially like if you have him subbed in, if you are able to take a lead, or even if it's you're trying to see out a draw here, which I would welcome a draw with open arms against Cincinnati on the road. So like being able to bring him off for 25, 30 minutes after he just went 45, like again, Owens 20. And putting both of those guys out there at the same time, I don't think is ideal for us right now. Especially, I just don't see us approaching this match, kind of dual eights there with those two guys. But again, it's this is going to be the toughest month to try to predict lineups because of the quick succession of these matches and the situation that we find ourselves in, kind of just in the middle of this jam-packed group here in the Western Conference, right? I think what did you say? We're 3 points back of second still, something like that.
Yes, we're 3 points back of second from behind Minnesota, who's sitting in second. So there is opportunity here. I hope Mirtu goes to the bench, and not because of performance stuff. I do think he needs some rest here, and I'm fine with the hot air Obi connection there. And like, look, we highlighted the fact that this team is very, very talented up and down this roster, but they have given up some goals. And we've mentioned Bukari being unguardable in one-on-one situations. Their wingbacks get up and down. They like to go. So like you could have an opportunity here where he can go ahead and do something positive. And he might be the guy who needs the most amount of positive juice moving forward, confidence being built, because he wasn't involved in the goals last night. You know what I mean? He did have that cross that set up, I forget which one it was, but it wasn't like a direct play that led, to the goal scoring chance. So I think I'm good with that. And obviously BV there, you're going to have to get CJ on the bench, in my opinion. He's going to have to be ready to go. So yeah, man, we'll see. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough.
Unless you have anything else to add here, is Austin FC winning on Saturday?
No, I can't in good conscience predict a victory here. And like I said, this is not the gauge for me. Is not, do we win this game? The judging stick is, how do you look? Are we doing some positive things that we can build on for an Atlanta game back here at the Q, and see if we can go ahead and get 3 points there? So I'm going to go ahead and say 2-0 Cincinnati.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to go 3, but like they're good, man. Know how good they are. They're fucking incredible. So yeah, I'll say 2-0.
Yeah, I just didn't expect you to be predicting a worse loss than me. I got a 1-0. I think we come out fairly conservatively, right? Try to take our chances when those opportunities present themselves, but get back to the basics of how we started the season so hot. And that was with a staunch defense. So 1-0 for me, 2-0 for E. And look, surprise us, boys. Bring us home any sort of result at all. And the confidence starts to grow on this side as well.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's last business day.
Last business day on episode 222 of the North End Podcast. And looking back to last Friday's match, E, at Palmer Field, taking on Sporting KC2. Couple different changes to this lineup here, man. You get Charlie Farah starting in net, and we had Micah Burton on the bench once again. Look, man, when you have a first teamer who is not able to consistently find a spot in the starting 11 for the second team that's playing in the third division of the U.S. soccer pyramid, I don't have great vibes from that. So I'm hoping that, we see more positive signs out of Micah going forward. Really just, again, the confidence and the trust of the coaching staff at the FC level to put him in this lineup game in and game out. Because you see that from a guy like Irfan Torres. Jimmy also out there starting. Vlad up top. See, Grogan sees the bench here. Abarca out there on the wing as well. Jacobaro makes his first start as well. So it wasn't just Charlie getting in there into the 11 for the first time. And then the back line, as we expected, with Chiesla out there in place of Riley Thomas, who, again, is still up there with the first team most weekends. The expected storms held off, so this game played as scheduled, which was nice for the fans that were assembled out there at Palmer Field. And really through the first half of this one, Sporting was the team that dominated. I thought Charlie was very, very solid when he was called upon. And, of course, Brian Ariano on the other side, right, coming in, trying to get a revenge spot here. He was aggressive, especially early. Wasn't a ton going on in this match, though, as a whole. At least through the first 60, 70 minutes or so, right? Only 20 total shots. SKC, again, 4 shots on target to Austin's 2, 11 total shots to Austin's 9. You did get a double change in the 62nd minute for Austin. Grogan came in for Vlad, and Anthony Deanda comes in for Jimmy. So you see Deanda continuing to play in a more forward, right, a spot out there on the wing. For this team. And then 78th minute, you get Jorge Alistue in. So it's good to see him return to the lineup. And Micah comes in. Both of those guys came on for Irvin and Diego Abarca. The best chance of the night comes in the 81st minute as Micah receives a changing ball here on the right side. He popped it back in towards the 6, where Grogan heads it into the ground. And the Sporting keeper, I thought, just made a great stop, Molinaro, in this moment. And then in the 3rd minute of stoppage, Peter gets himself thrown out. It sure looked like he elbowed this defender in the face. You can't tell from that Next Pro broadcast angle the intent there. Those guys did get tangled up. Grogan just goes up high and the red gets shown. So luckily that was, right before the final whistle. And we go to the PK shootout 0-0, but no Peter Grogan coming into the shootout is also not ideal. And when we see Sporting again later this season, he will miss for that red card suspension. But in the shootout, man, I'm in on Charlie right now, man. Yeah. Like the first 3 attempts, he does, I believe, save the 3rd attempt to his right, but he guessed correctly. He even got a touch on the first shot as well. So he was on fire to begin this shootout. Although Ruben scores his, and then Adrian Gonzalez sends his over rather in round 2. So we're behind the 8 ball in the second round of the shootout. Charlie gets us back in it in the 3rd. Jorge scores. Daniel Chiesla scores. Then Gomez slots his home to take us to extras. In round 6, Nico Van Ryn scores. Jacobaro scores in the 7th round. And then in round 8, the Sporting player skied his. And here's a little bit of good, hopefully confidence-boosting momentum for Micah Burton. Even as the keeper guesses right, he puts the winning penalty shot past Molinaro for the additional point. So you take 2 points on PKs, 7-6 in the shootout. And here we'll take it, man. It's been a minute since we got a positive result. I mean, since opening night, since we got more than a single point from any of these matches.
Yeah, still. It's not the El Paso Locomotive reaction here, but this Sporting KC team is the worst team in Next Pro, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they haven't won a game. And I know that we're trying to find our identity and footing like that. So happy for 2 points, absolutely for the boys. Hopefully, again, something they can build on here. But we got to get some wins. We need some dubs.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so no game action this weekend for FC but next week on May 13th, I believe that's Tuesday, on the road, 9 p.m., Ventura County FC out there in California. So we'll preview that match on Sunday's episode.
Wow, the best keeper in the world.
Checking in on Damian Loss here, Ian. We've got our buddy Trevor Allison, our resident Louisville City fan, with a lengthy update. He says, apologies for the delay and the length here. Parents were in town for the last 10 days. So shout out Trevor here in the Jägermeister Cup, which is a combined
Ooh.
USL Championship and USL League One season-long tournament. 6 groups where each winner moves on to the knockout round of 8. Trevor only saw a bit live because it was during the Austin-Houston match 11 days ago. Damien started with a B-level Louisville City lineup in front of him against the Richmond Kickers, a USL League One side. Took a while to get going. Louisville City had little trouble with Richmond, winning 4-1. Damien was not troubled too much, only 2 shots on target, and the only save was an easy catch in the 29th minute from a long, soft shot. May 1st, they took on Lexington SC back in league play. So you've got Damien and Joe Hafferty reuniting there, the former Next Pro champions with Austin FC 2. Damien starts this match, helps Louisville City to the 2-0 win over Lexington, who just moved up to the USL Championship this year. One of the closest soccer derbies in the United States, only 82 miles apart for the 2 stadiums. It's apparently not only Joe Hafferty, Sofiane Jafal also in the lineup for Lexington, along with longtime MLS player Corey Burke. Remember him from the Union a couple years ago. Previous Super Draft target Foster Ajago, who is, I believe, on loan from Real Salt Lake. And Trevor says, we love to remember some guys. He says that, let's see, Damien sees 3 shots on target, keeps the clean sheet right in the 2-0. Pretty tight affair until the Ajago red card in the 49th for kicking a Louisville City player in the face after they got tangled up in the corner. He said the video is kind of hilarious with Ajago asking for non-existent VAR to take a look at it. And you can actually, it looks like on Blue Sky, Trevor posted a post with the video of it the other night. Decent save in the 77th minute on a counter opportunity. Got down quick to his left, taken on a cross from Joe Hafferty. Overall, a good to very good week of play. Damien's still not asked to do a ton, but makes the saves he should make. Set pieces, still a work in progress, but thinks there has been some improvement, specifically on the corners. So did not get this update from Trevor today. If he has any additional notes, we will put it into the Sunday episode. But Louisville was also in action last night in the Open Cup, hosting Minnesota United. So look, man, you take a look at our opponent from last freaking week, and no Kelvin Yeboah, and I know he's injured, but no Tani Oluwasi, right? No Mike Boxall. These are guys who not only just didn't start, but were not active at all. Dane St. Clair, not there. Like, I could keep going down the list. I want to say, yeah, they had no starters from the game against Austin start this match. It doesn't look like any of them subbed in either. So they rotated their entire side. You still got Sungbin Jong in there, DJ Taylor, Morris Dugan, Julian Gressel got the start for Minnesota here. But again, just talking about going back from earlier, talking about what the other teams did and still got wins, because unfortunately Minnesota does score in the 65th minute, putting that one past Damien, who started and went the full 90. Louisville, 50% possession in that one, 15 shots to 6, only 2 shots on target for each team, only 1 big chance for each team. Minnesota took theirs. Louisville could not convert on theirs. So Louisville bows out of the Open Cup in the round of 32. But again, man, like even against backups from Minnesota United, it seems like Louisville as a whole and Damien did just fine. But we'll see if Trevor has anything to add over the weekend.
Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, that would have been fun if they upset them. That would have been sweet.
Yeah.
But
well, and look, man, it wasn't all. Yeah, I know. It wasn't all doom and gloom over the weekend in the Austin FC universe, because the Academy, ooh boy, U14s respond 2-1 victory over the Dynamo Academy U14s, trailing 1-0 at halftime. The squad responded with 2 second-half goals to secure the well-earned victory. And then they play another match against AC River this time. How about 11-1 U14s over AC River, carrying that momentum off the victory over the Dynamo, showed their attacking firepower with a complete performance from start to finish. Probably an understatement there in the club's press release about the Academy performances. U13s, man, not to be outdone against AC River, 7-1. I guess my only question is, boys, what happened on the one? We couldn't shut these guys out? Of course I kid. Fantastic weekend for the 13s and 14s. Keep it up, boys.
The children avenging us.
Yeah,
That's what we like
absolutely.
to see. Good job, boys. That's super impressive. Shout out those boys.
And getting into the nonsense to close out episode
Oh,
222. And look, we go through the transfer draft last week. We're feeling great. And we
Mhm.
have our worst week of the season coming out of the first transfer window draft. North End Podcast, 21 points, dropping from first to third. We are Austin, a very nice 69. Not only just very nice for the jokes, but that is the season high in the Verde Best Ball League. So we are Austin flying out of the transfer window. Like the 69 is kind of overshadowing the 51 from Soccer Wise, who stay hot. We're now only 29 points above David Goss and Soccer Wise E, so it's starting to get a little nervy there. Phil puts up another 50 spot for Verde all day. He's just 6 points back of the top spot. So we really got to turn things around here in the North End after that week, man, because you dropped, 48 points to We Are Austin. That is a disaster weekend for, like, we may have had a worse weekend than the first team did.
Yeah, this was really bad. You sent me this, and I was just like, "Oh shit,
Yeah,
that is awful." Now Goss is on our heels. He'll be talking stuff on the river.
I know,
Bad, man.
I know, man. So we can close it out. It wasn't all bad with the picks either, but the underdog fantasy. Maybe we should have known that the Joe Willis giving up a goal in the first, I think, 20 minutes against Atlanta, and then no more. So the underdog entry crashes and burns in the mid-afternoon on Saturday. So you lose a unit there. You are still up 14.71 units on the season if you're just tailing us on underdog. And then you went to the books for the week 11 picks. Started off nice with the mid-afternoon game. You get New England Revolution, draw no bet. They get the victory. We get a Leo Campana goal at plus 265. And it really was the goal scorers, that kept us alive on the weekend. We got goals from Campana, Diego Rossi, Chucky Lozano, minus 3.25 units when all was said and done, though. So we're back to the single digits at the books, plus 9.47 units on the season. So again, we'll still take that. It wasn't a disaster, and we will move forward to this weekend. Saturday morning, you can come to the northendpodcast.com. Check out what we've got working here in the picks and in the underdog streets. And of course, if you haven't signed up yet to join us at Underdog, you can do so through the links in this video. The MLS season is here. If you want to make some picks on your favorite players in sports, check out Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em game. You choose higher or lower on between 2 to 8 players, and you can win up to 1,000 times your entry. Underdog is available in 33 states, including right here in Texas. To sign up, click the link in the description of this video and use promo code NORTHEND at sign up, and you'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick to get you started. So join the millions of fans who have won billions on Underdog. Promo code NORTHEND when you sign up at Underdog. Again, the link to sign up is in the description of this episode. Whether you're watching on the YouTube or listening on the audio version, you click that link, promo code NORTHEND at sign up. You get the bonus cash, you get the free pick. Then you come back to the northendpodcast.com on Saturday to see what we're rolling with in week 12. Again, that match preview article will be out on Friday at the northendpodcast.com. So the content rolls on as the MLS schedule rolls on. FC Cincinnati on Saturday. Anything else for you before we shut it down here on a lengthy episode 222?
Come on, shock us, boys. You know?
Yeah, why not?
Make us look fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't need a lot of help looking dumb, but we'll always take a little extra help. Come on. Make me look. Come on. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, hey, I would not complain about that. I'm sure neither would anybody tuned in here. If you are still tuned in and you have stuck with us through this over an hour and a half of a Thursday episode before a Saturday match, we appreciate you as we always do. And we will see you back here on Sunday for another episode of the North End Podcast, recapping Austin FC's road trip out to Cincinnati and previewing Austin FC's match against Atlanta United, talking last business day, who take on Ventura County FC, and of course talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We'll do the same, and we'll see you back here on Sunday for another episode of the North End Podcast. Until then, he is E, And I'm Zach Vamos, Austin FC. Everybody, goodbye.